All right. Hello and welcome to the Health Starts at Home podcast. I am your host, Holly Jean Mullen, and this is the show where we connect the dots between health and home. And today's episode is one of those topics people have heard of, but they might not really understand. And we are talking about homeopathy. Some people swear by it, some people side eye it. And most people kind of just lump it into that mysterious alternative stuff bucket and move on. But today I'm sitting down with a local homeopath to talk about why homeopathy or what homeopathy is, how it works, when people use it, why it's growing, and how someone brand new can approach it safely and smartly. So let me introduce our guest today. I am joined by Sydney Nichols. She is a practicing homeopath here in the Tulsa area, and she works with individuals and families across a wide range of concerns, acute issues, chronic stuff, emotional support. And part of why I've been excited about this conversation is because Sydney and I come at this work from opposite directions, and somehow we've landed in the same place. Sydney originally worked in real estate and over time felt called to step away from that world and into homeopathy. And it's kind of like moving from homes as physical structures into the inner environment of the body, where my path did the reverse, and where I spent years in the holistic health and nutritional therapy world working inside the body, but then eventually felt called into real estate. Once I realized how much our external environments and our homes, our land, and all that stuff shapes our health and in ways that are just overlooked sometimes. So, different starting points, same realization that our health doesn't happen in isolation and that it's just woven through all the different aspects of our life. So, welcome to the show, Sydney.
Hi, thanks for having me. And you're right. It's exciting that our paths have kind of crossed how they have. So thank you.
Yeah, it's fun because I think it's been a few years since we've met, but we're actually sitting down for the first time to actually talk about homeopathy. So it's good stuff.
Yes, it is. Thank you again.
Yeah, so
Um,
you are just finishing up with your formal training coming up this year, yes?
yes. I graduated 2 years ago as an independent health practitioner. So I do have that certification, but I have been in school for over a year with Remedy Academy in Australia, and I'll graduate this coming year with an advanced homeopathic practitioner certificate or license, whatever the United States is going to call it, because it's different, I feel like, in every country. So.
Okay. All right. And why don't you just share briefly a little bit about your background and like what really just inspired you to make the leap from real estate into the world of natural health?
Hey, um, we always grew up as pretty healthy people. I want to say, like, I think back now as a kid, we were probably crunchy, weird people back then. So I always kind of grew up in that. We didn't go out to eat, we didn't drink pot. My mom didn't really vaccinate us or anything like that. So all those weird things now that people have a name for, we were those weird things back then. So I'm quite thankful for my mom, whether it was complacency or whatever. I always tell her, thanks, mom, for keeping us healthy from all those things that now I know can tear our lives apart. So when I graduated high school, I knew I didn't want to go to college. It wasn't for me. So I stepped right into real estate out of high school. I worked in Kansas for a while, had my Oklahoma license, and did that. I've always just really enjoyed helping people. Um, Real estate kind of hit all those things. My mom and dad built houses growing up, so I got to watch that entire process. And I knew things from the health standpoint, the molds, all the things that can come into play, even in a new home that so many people are like, oh, it's a new home. I mean, you know this. It's a new home, it's healthy. Yeah, no, probably it could quite frankly be the opposite.
Right.
So I enjoyed all that. I took a step away with my husband's job in 2017 for about a year. And that's when I really dug into the big health side of things and started taking courses. I did start in that integrative world and it still didn't make 100% sense to me even after I'd graduated, in the sense that we still kind of came at things from an allopathic view, where, say, you came to me with digestive issues, okay, we're going to do this protocol. And it was very similar for anybody that came with digestive issues. Not necessarily exactly the same, but it still came from that standpoint of, we're going to do this. And that still just like didn't set right. It was great. I was helping people be healthier with healthier things opposed to getting a pharmaceutical. But it still didn't just click for me. And so I was searching and searching, and I've always used homeopathy. I always just thought, oh, it's these little pellets, and I know a lot of people think that. So I'm gonna throw myself under the bus first, because that's what I thought years and years ago. Just these little pellets. I'm gonna take them. If they work, great. If they don't, well, it's hokey. So I found Melissa, and Melissa owns Remedy Collective, which also started the Remedy Academy that I'm in. She is a phenomenal person. If you don't follow her on Instagram, go look up Melissa Cup with Remedy Academy or Remedy Collective. She's amazing. She is an amazing speaker. I took some of her original classes that were just courses because that's where she started, and that's what got me hooked. I ordered one of her first kits that she made years ago, and I only used that to treat my kids at home, myself, my husband, the animals, everybody. And so homeopathy made sense. We did some, they were all just basic classes, but there were a couple of inserts in there where we talked about emotional things and clearing emotional trauma. And it all just started to really click. I'm a big reader, so I read a lot. I probably have more books than a normal person should have. Um, but it made sense to me, and that is why I'm in the course that I'm in. I've seen so many crazy, wild things happen for people that have been trying for years, myself included. I had seen a homeopath, and we had worked together, and it was good. I saw a little bit of work because a lot of my stuff was emotional, but it wasn't like wow moments. I mean, not everybody's going to have a wow moment. That makes me. I probably shouldn't say wow moment, but there's going to be more wow moments, I feel like, for certain people than there will be for others, and that's really where I feel like where I'm learning and what I'm learning is just phenomenal. And it clicks and it makes so much sense. I feel like I've kind of rambled here, so maybe I should re-say all that.
No, it's good.
Okay.
You're on it.
Okay.
We can
So here I
edit this part.
am. I started out, I'm trying to think, when did we start? Did I start in 23 or 24 with Remedy Academy? And it's been amazing. It's set up. I just want to talk a little bit about it, because if you've ever been interested in homeopathy and it's something that you want to explore more, it can be for you to learn for your family, or you can do it to be able to be a practitioner and work with clients. It's very affordable, I feel like. And it's set up for anyone. You can be a mother who's taking care of your children. You can be a working mom, whatever it may be. It's set up for you to be able to learn and to grow and to graduate and be knowledgeable and go into the workforce if you want to. So if that's something that you've wanted to do, please look into it. I know that they're signing up people for the next cohort in 2026 at the end of the year. So it's great. So that's where I got into homeopathy. I started seeing clients officially at the first of this year. I've always worked off and on with people just that they know. I don't know. I'm the local weirdo, I guess. So people are like, hey, what can I do for this? Or what can I take for this? Or what would you recommend for this? But I officially started seeing clients at the first of 2025. And it has really just been a blessing to me. I enjoy hearing people's stories. I have seen so many awesome things happen in people's lives that thought they would never be better, where they've gotten a diagnosis or diagnoses from a doctor and just told you're going to have to live with it. And that's why I love homeopathy, because it not only helps with the acute things like a cold or the flu or whatever bumper bruise you may have gotten today, but it can dig back into your childhood. It can dig back into your parents' childhood, wherever that trauma is, wherever it started, wherever the junk started piling up, it can go back there and it can clear it all out and you can be free from that. Because I personally believe that is why we're so sick today. I feel like most of people's sicknesses probably start with all the grief, all the emotional garbage that we have pushed on top of and on top of and on top of. And then here we are today sitting in whatever sickness we currently have. And if we can get back to that sickness or whatever that emotional grief or trauma was from 20, 40, 60 years ago, and we can get it out of there, we can get better.
I'm so glad you said that because you don't even know it, but you are kind of teeing up the whole theme of what I have my topics for the beginning of the year because it's all kind of tied around nervous system stuff and trauma and somatic work and just kind of going back to that foundational stuff where a lot of people, like for so long, we've been thinking, oh, everything's inflammation or everything's in the gut, but it goes so much deeper than that. And you kind of just touched on it and teed it up. But even more than that, like I remember being a first time mom and getting into homeopathy with not even really understanding what it was, but I met someone in like the natural health world who like that's what she did. She was a homeopath and she introduced me to pellets and I remember getting a kit from her and it was like a little box and it had my remedies in it, but I would open it and on the back flap it had all the little like symptoms. Like I would use this for whatever, but it was everything from common ailments to emotional stuff. So when my son was just weepy or feeling emotional or just having like a hard day, there was a remedy for that. And I loved that box. I cannot tell you still, even now, how homeopathy works, and we'll get into that. But I know as a first time mom, I felt empowered and I felt like a super mom sometimes when I could just open that box and look at my little cheat sheet and know what to do and to see that it worked. And that's all I needed to know.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because I feel like in the homeopathy world, that's where most people, most moms start is when they are moms because you're just grasping at straws to figure out what's going to work, what's going to be the thing that, and they try a remedy that they're like, oh, what is it? And we really don't know. I mean, when I started, I didn't know what it was years ago and I just used it because, it said this and then it worked. And you're like you said, it just made that day better or it made the sickness easier go away. And you use it and you're like, oh, okay, cool. I don't know what it's doing, but it's working. So we're going to keep up with it. And that's what I think gets everybody started. There's that point where everybody gets started and it's usually a child or, something simple. And then it's like you fall off down that big hole of what it is. And if you really need help, it definitely can help out.
Yeah, and it's easy because it is little pellets that don't have a bad taste. So if you do have a child that like getting them to take medicine or to take something that doesn't taste good, like that could be the challenge in itself is to getting them to swallow pills or to take something. So little sugary tasting pellets is easy.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so let's just talk about okay, what is homeopathy? Because I think this is where a lot of people get lost is because we don't even know what it is. So someone who's brand new, can you explain what it is and how does it work?
Yeah. Okay. Well, homeopathy, we'll kind of start at the beginning. So, a lot of people think homeopathy is new, that it's woo woo, that it's crazy. Homeopathy was developed over 200 years ago, back in the late 1700s, by a German physician, Samuel Hahnemann. In short, he basically did not like the practices of the time. They were some of the weird things they did, like the bloodletting, where people were sick and they would basically clear their blood out. And a lot of people died from that. He just didn't believe that that was how people should get better. So he's a very smart man. He decided that he would translate books from other languages, and he essentially had come across some information that another doctor, physician, had come up with, and he's like, that sign kind of sounds weird. Um, Hold on, I'm gonna re-say some of that. I'm gonna
Okay.
I'm gonna start over because I don't want to say too much because that's too much for somebody that doesn't know. My brain, I'm a talker, and so sometimes I say too much. So I'm gonna start over. Um, okay, so what is homeopathy? Homeopathy isn't new. It's not woo-woo or crazy. Um, it's an over 200-year-old medicine. It was developed back in the late 1700s by a German physician, Samuel Hahnemann, and it's basically just based on the principle that like cures like. Which basically means that a substance that causes symptoms in a healthy person can, in very diluted forms, treat similar symptoms in a sick person. And so, to make that easy to understand, we all know what an onion is. Say you're going to cook dinner and you're going to cut an onion. What does that normally make you do? Makes your nose run, makes your eyes burn or itch, makes your eyes water. And those are symptoms of hay fever, essentially. Allergies, hay fever. So that would be the remedy that you would grab in the essence that those were the symptoms that you had. So if somebody called me and they're like, Sydney, it's springtime. Every time I walk out the door, my nose just runs completely like a faucet. My eyes are itchy. I'd be like, okay, it sounds like you have allergies or you've got hay fever. Grab allium cepa. Allium cepa is the homeopathic remedy of just the basic onion. So that is what it means by like cures like. It's very simple. So we think about arsenic, which, if we ate or ingested arsenic, it would make us very sick. We would be vomiting. So you think of that. Say you had food poisoning or you had an upset stomach with certain symptoms, you would go for arsenicum because arsenicum album is the homeopathic remedy of arsenic. So if that person took too much arsenic, they're going to vomit. We would take arsenicum to help reduce the vomiting. And a lot of times I feel like a remedy can make you vomit. So, say you are very sick to your stomach. We have to look at homeopathy through a different lens than we would maybe say a pharmaceutical view, where we go to the doctor and we're vomiting and we're sick. They're going to give us something to keep us from vomiting because we don't want to vomit. The idea with homeopathy is that you're taking this remedy that has the energetic properties of whatever we're taking. So we take arsenicum, for instance, it's got the energetic makeup of arsenic. It doesn't actually have the crude substance in it. So what it's doing is it is tapping our vital force or our inner self or our body, whatever you want to call it. And it's reminding our body what it's supposed to do. So since it's the arsenicum or arsenic, that would be the vomiting. If we were sick, you might have one more really bad vomit, and then you're probably going to take a nap or you're going to chill out and just sit and rest and restore. So it's not uncommon for you to have that symptom one more time or a couple more times. It's not going to necessarily make you stop vomiting immediately, where if you went to the doctor and took a pharmaceutical, that's what they're wanting, because there's a reason that your body is vomiting for the
Right.
most part. If you had bad food or you had a bug or whatever it was, we want to get that out. And that's what the remedy is there for, is just to support your body, not to stop something. Um, so that's kind of how it works. It is, again, remedies are just highly diluted substances that are used to stimulate the body's vital force to help in or aid in the healing process. Um, so most remedies are going to be made from plants or animals or minerals. There are random remedies made from all kinds of things. I think right now there's over 8,000 remedies, 6,000 that have been proven, which means they've been taken by healthy people and the symptoms written down of what happens and have been proven so that we know what to use those for, that they have actually done their job. There are going to be 60 to 100 remedies that are the most commonly used. Like you walk into the health food store and you're going to find these remedies. So there are thousands and thousands of remedies, wild things that I'm trying to think ones that are, there's ones made from the sun. I said it on a lecture the other day. There's a remedy that is made out of mirrors. And the way that they made that is not by crushing up mirrors. Because when I first heard that, I thought, ew, that sounds terrible. Um, they actually set a glass of water in the middle of numerous mirrors for a period of time, and that water took on whatever, the mirrors, I guess what they mirrored off of it. And then they took a drop of that water and made the remedy out of that. And some of the provings from that were wild. So just so many wild things. Yeah. So homeopathy is really simple. That that wasn't the simplest definition. Sorry.
No, I didn't realize there was such a strong energetic property to it.
Yes. So yeah, basically homeopathy, anything homeopathy is an energetic medicine. So I know that people think that energies are weird. I think we're coming into a time where people are realizing that energy is not scary. And that's good because I think that if we really like, no matter where your background's from, whether you are a Christian or you're not, we go back and we look in the Bible and there's so much energy that is there. And it doesn't have to be scary and it doesn't have to be witchy or weird. But yeah, homeopathic remedies are basically just that energetic property of whatever it may be. And that's what is reminding your body or the energy in your body to heal.
That makes more sense to me now because I never really understood how it could be used for the emotional component, but that makes more sense now if it is an energetic medicine or
Yeah,
an
and that's
energetic remedy.
yeah, it is. And that's where I feel like it's wild and fun to watch things unfold and heal when you do work with someone who has no matter what they've come in for. Because I think that's kind of what we're going to work into next is what homeopathy can be used for. And
Hmm.
chronic things are my favorite, emotional things are my favorite. I freak out over the acute things, which should be really easy because I'm like, oh, it's acute. Oh gosh, somebody texts me about a cough. What's the cough like? Is it a wet cough? Is it a dry cough? What's it feel like? Does it tickle? Does it feel like razor blades? Does something make it better? Does something make it worse? And I freak out. Even though I know what to do, I freak out. Whereas somebody comes in and they're like, I have anxiety and I've had anxiety for 15 years and I have chronic pain and oh, I have endometriosis. And I'm like, okay, cool, let's talk about it. We're going to fix this. So
Okay.
I would rather work with the chronic person than the acutes because they scare me for whatever reason. I don't know. I will help you with your acutes, but
Well,
bring me
maybe
all the
because the acute is like this came on quickly, and so you're expecting it to go away quickly, where if something's chronic, you've had it forever, maybe it's like not so
maybe.
much pressure to make it go away overnight.
Yeah, I know. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I just freak out with acutes for whatever reason, even though I know and I treat my family and my kids and all my friends, but it's still like somebody texts me and like, what do I do for this? And I'm like, oh, hold on, I don't know. And I really do know. It's just like, yeah. So, homeopathy can be used for anything from as little as bumps and bruises to a cough to the flu, to strep to infections. Not to say that you don't go to a doctor if you have an infection. Definitely always search out your doctor and talk with them about it. But from the acute things to chronic things, I have worked with clients from roughly 18 months old up into their mid 70s, boys and girls. I've worked with people that have had things since birth. I've worked with people that have severe anxiety, whether it's anxiety that's centered around family or anxiety that is centered around school and friendships or anxiety about their health. I've helped people with fertility. I have worked with clients on chronic pain. Um, Emotional things are all tied in all that. Again, like I had said earlier, I think our emotions and our things that have happened to us in the past and our griefs and stuff, traumas are what influence our health today. So yeah, homeopathy can help with literally so many different things. If it's a thing I would that you need help with and you have tried everything else, search out a homeopath and see if it's something that they want to tackle. And if they don't, search out another one because there's so many great homeopaths. And I've just seen so many awesome things happen in short amount of times for people that were given diagnoses that you're just going to live with this for the rest of your life. And that's not so.
Well, I think we can have a good little partnership here where I can have all my clients work with you on their home buying anxiety before they come to
Yes.
me.
Yes, we'll give everybody a few remedies whenever they're going to look at houses.
So you got to see Sydney first.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be like a real world example, but I want people to really understand. Like you've given a lot of examples already of like how broad the applications can be. So what are some things that you see maybe like most commonly used for real life? I know you've said like from babies to adults, but do you see things that are like patterns or I don't know, if you have like a fun case study or something to share to like paint a
Let's
picture for someone who's just like, I still don't get it.
So, chronic wise, I feel like suppression is a big deal. I was just chatting with another practitioner not too long ago about this. And I feel like the generation of the 30s to 45, whatever age group that is, I'm not up with the times and know what we're classified as, but I fit in there.
Yeah, me
I
too.
feel like, and I'm not hating on any parent or grandparent in any form. It's just what I've taken from either cases I've worked in school or personal cases that I've taken. There's a lot of suppression, and it's finally come to a head, I feel like, in our generation. We look back to our parents. We were kids that were supposed to be mainly seen and not heard. I feel like everybody that's in that age group knows that, or don't cry, you're fine,
Yeah, suck it up.
or I'm going to
We're the
show
suck
you
it up generation.
yeah, I'm going to give you something to cry about, like that generation where, and I'm not hating on anybody. I had an amazing life, but there's still that, you see it in your kids now whenever you say something to them because you're more aware of it. And you say something and you just see the light go out in their eyes. And you think back, me as a practitioner, I think back and I go, oh, okay, that makes sense. So we were that generation. And then they were kind of raised that way too by their parents. So, like, a grandparent was raised that way. And then I think back, okay, so my grandma, she's in her 80s. She was in that group that started pharmaceuticals and started drinking soda out of cans and started having more processed food. And then, of course, our moms that are, in their upper 50s, 60s, they, they definitely were on contraceptives or they were taking SSRIs. And then, of course, more of the garbagey food and the things that were happening and, the influx of EMFs and cell phones and all the crap. And so here we are, we're that third generation of crap, per to say that's doesn't sound good, but essentially that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And we were all starting to be vaccinated too. Not that everybody has their own choice and that's great. I support any client I have in that choice, but we're all that group. It's come to a head, I feel like, in that suppression of everything, not just emotions, but the suppression of maybe the traumas, the foods, the medicines that have been taken. So, how many people do we know that are our age that struggled to get pregnant? I feel like, I don't want to say epidemic per se, but it's a problem. I mean, I would say that I don't have too many close friends, but so many people I know that struggled to get pregnant.
It
And
is.
then
And fertility rates are going down significantly,
significantly. And so
starting with our generation.
yeah. And so I look at it like that. We've just kind of like, you're filling the cup. I know that probably most people that are listening have watched one of those videos where you fill the cup and you fill the cup and you fill the next cup and you see where you literally are taking things from the past generation in the past generation. And so we're that generation of suppression. And then so much so our children. There's so many children that, came out of our generation that have the neurodivergent issues, they have the PANS, they have the PANDAS, there's so much more autism and things like that. So not only that, so they've taken all that from them. And so then our age group has done fertility treatments and they've taken the vaccines because we were told that they worked. We were just told that those were the things we were supposed to do. And so it's just the suppression of everything. And that's where I love homeopathy because it digs back in to all that and it erases it. It takes it out. I'm not saying it's going to be easy to get through it. Um, but if you want to heal, we've got to get back through it and you've got to clear all that. And that's where I love homeopathy. I'm trying to think. I have a client and she's an older client. She originally came to me with chronic pain. She's a very active woman. She is an amazing person. She's a friend now. But she came to me with a long list of things, some anxiety about health. She's very active again, but she's older. And she basically wanted to just feel like herself again. You could tell she was just suppressed. I know that I keep saying that word, but I feel like you think about it and I visually look at suppression and I think about like squeezing like a stack of papers together. Literally is what I feel like our lives look like. And you just have to take one piece of paper off at a time. Um, and so we went through everything and we dug through things in her past and all this. And there was just a ton of junk, a lot of hurt, a lot of things that we think are our fault, but aren't really our fault. But I know we've all been there where we know it's not our fault, but something happened and we just feel like it is. And so you can't get past that. It just is still looming there. And so I prescribed arsenicum and also carcinosin. That would be a miasmatic remedy. And that's where there's certain remedies you're not going to want to use unless you're working with a practitioner. You probably can't even get a hold of them, would be my guess if you're not. So if you look for something that I speak about, you might need a practitioner to be able to get a hold of it. So miasms, just a short on miasms. Miasms are going to be an inherited thing. So some of the main miasms are going to be a syphilitic miasm. You're going to have the psychotic miasm, the tubercular miasm, the psoric miasm, and then we have our cancer miasm. And cancer kind of encompasses a few of those, just in short, kind of on those. And those are going to be our inherited things. We look at that's one thing in a chronic consult that I'll ask. If you know, can you tell me your family's health history? So if we look back and, both your parents had cancer and both your grandparents had cancer, and say you have kids and your kids have had mono or Epstein-Barr virus or something, we know that cancer runs deep. So that's something that we want to focus on. So that would be that. Or if you have, you think syphilitic, the syphilitic miasm is going to be is going to be more with the mind and things like that. You think about syphilis, it sounds gross, but that's essentially, you think about what it affects, and that's going to be what that kind of lines up with. So a lot of people, because we have all of our suppression and all of our junk, a lot of people will get two remedies to start with, their similimum or their constitutional remedy, which fits them for the time right now for what they need, and then possibly a miasmatic remedy. And so I had prescribed arsenicum and carcinosin because it fit well. And she had been one that hadn't done much. She was very active woman, but she was sedentary for some time because she just couldn't. I mean, I know that there's probably people that either will listen or have been there or know someone where you want to do something, but you can't. Whether it's mental or physical, you just can't. And so she started on her remedies. I think I followed up with her in 2 weeks. We usually follow up around 6 to 8 weeks in person. But I always like to reach out around 2 or 3 weeks just to see how things are going. Because around the 2 to 3 week mark, you usually are seeing something start to happen. And she said she was doing well. I want to say she messaged me again about 4 weeks, and maybe we chatted on the phone. She was like, I think I just don't know if I'm getting a whole lot. She's like, but I joined an exercise class and I'm out in the garden again. I'm doing these things. I cleaned my house for the first time in like 3 months, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing this. And I'm like thinking to myself, good gracious, lady, you're old enough to be my mom and you're doing more than I am. And you weren't doing anything for months because you just couldn't. And I'm like, I said, did you just hear what you told me? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, does that sound like you're doing better? And she goes, oh my gosh, I'm doing so much better. And so we've seen so much work from there. We've had to adjust things, and that's what's good about homeopathy. We can adjust at any point. I typically prescribe in liquids because that's what all my stock is in, and I haven't made it into pills yet. I can, but liquids to me are easier. Um, and they last a lot longer. I know that like if you're like pillules, you go to the store. I can't remember the last time I bought them. Are they like $12 or $15 for a little tube of pillules at Sprouts or something?
Yeah,
Um,
it's been a while. Yeah, I would say like $9 to $12 ish. That sounds
yeah,
about
just
right.
depending, I think, on what potency you get. So I like to do liquids because they last longer. I know if like in an acute sickness, you can run through a little thing of pillules in a day or two, just depending on what you're treating. Whereas liquids are great. I sell in either 15 milliliter or 30 milliliter bottles. And in with liquids, you can put them in water or you can take them directly in your mouth. If you put them in a bottle of water, once you put 2 or 3 drops of that remedy in the bottle of water, you shake it, then that whole entire bottle of water is the remedy. So if you're treating an acute, say the flu or the cough or an upset stomach or whatever it may be, that whole bottle is the remedy. So, depending on how sick you are, what the situation is, you would have that whole bottle, which is the remedy, from only 3 drops of out of your bottle. And then you just sip on it as needed, whether it's every 5 minutes, every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, every hour. And so you can see where that whole bottle of water lasts a lot longer opposed to taking 2 or 3 pills every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, whatever it may be.
And that
And
dilution doesn't change the dosage. Like I
nope,
don't even
the
know if I worded
potency,
that
it
right.
no, it won't change the
Potency,
yeah,
yeah, thanks.
the potency. So no, you would put that in there and that whole bottle would be that potency. And then so what you want to do with liquids, and this is where I like them again, whether you're treating acute or chronic. And again, not a dig on pillules because we still have a ton of the pillules at home too. But once you put it in the water, every time you would shake it or succuss it, essentially before you take a dose, it just changes that potency just a hair. It doesn't, so say you started with a 30C, it doesn't make it a 31C, it just barely changes it a little bit. So whenever you take a dose of it again in an acute instance, it's just a little bit different than the last one. So your body recognizes it and it goes, okay, I need to do this again. Where sometimes you can get sedentary in that same potency with pillules. So, like if you're taking a 30C 15 times a day, your body might not recognize it as well because it is exactly the same thing you took last time.
Okay, just because you brought it up, can you just talk real quick? Like, what is the difference between, like, what is it, 30, 20? Like, what is the breakdown again?
Okay,
Because I
so we'll
get them
talk about
confused.
no, you're fine. And I didn't know this either. So until I really dug in. So potency, we'll talk the best way to explain it is to start how remedies are made. So a remedy is made by having a mother tincture, and the easiest way to talk about one would be like a plant. So we'll take I don't what's the best plant I can think of? Say belladonna, which is, we would know belladonna. Most people are going to think belladonna and they're going to say, "Oh, that's poisonous," because it is. If you can't even get that belladonna in the United States as a flower, I don't think. Because if it was eaten, it would hurt you. So they would have the mother tincture, and they would basically tincture that. You would saturate your herb or whatever in the alcohol or water or whatever they're using for the period of time. And to make a 1C, they take 1 drop out of that mother tincture, they put it in a vial or a bottle, and then there's 99 drops of water or alcohol in that. Then they succuss it 10 times, whatever they're making it to, whether it's every country has their own different homeopathic pharmacy instructions that say they succuss it 10 times or shake it 10 times. That's a 1C. To make a 2C, they take 1 drop out of that 1C, put it in a vial or a bottle, and put 99 drops of whatever their other liquid is in there. They succuss it. Then they make a 3C. So out of the 2C, you take 1 drop and you put it in another vial and 99 drops of water or alcohol. You succuss it. That's how you get to your 30C.
So
So
30
everything
would be the most diluted.
30 would be more diluted than a 1C, yes. So
Okay.
anything past 12C has zero of the crude substance in it. It's all going to be energetic past 12C.
Okay.
Um, So most of the potencies you're going to find at Sprouts or in a health food store are going to be 30C or 200C. So that means that process that I just talked about would be done 30 times or on to 200. I think you can still get 1M and sometimes 10M, which would be 1,000 or 10,000. And then you've got even way higher potencies as well. You just don't usually find them in the store. Um, Everything or most of the things that I have are going to be homochords of some kind. So they're going to have multiple potencies in one bottle. Um, it depends on who you talk to, what you get out of that. I have learned that they are amazing, personally using them, and then also seeing them working with them, and then watching other practitioners, professors, and everything use them. So I have Fibonacci homochords, I have Kintian homochords, I have super homochords. That means that they're going to have multiple potencies in that one bottle. So Fibonacci homochords are going to be what I put in my home remedy kits. I make 30 home remedy kits that would be how you would want to treat at home. They come with 30 of the top remedies, and a little booklet on how to treat which ailment. Those all are going to have Fibonacci homochords, and they all will have very, like I said, they'll have different potencies in each bottle. So most of them are going to start at 3C, 5C, 8C, 13, 34, 55, 144, and 233C. They're going to have anywhere from 5 to like 8 or 9 potencies in one bottle. And what I've learned from using them myself and watching other people be treated with them is that they're a little easier on the system. Where if you maybe got the wrong potency, it could cause an aggravation. Fibonacci homochords kind of take some of that out of it, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but this is just what I've taken from personal use. Because I know that some people have maybe tried homeopathy and it didn't work. So to those people, I would say you either got the wrong remedy or you got the wrong potency, because you have to get it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to get it as close as possible to see the best work. So that's why I like the homochords, because your body basically has the choice of whichever potency it needs. Where some practitioners, I feel like, might say that's being a little over the top and it might cause an aggravation. I've seen quite the opposite, where it helps your body move through a sickness faster or through something quicker because it had the option to choose which potency it needed. And I know that's been the hardest thing, I feel like, over the past 8 or 9 years to understand is potency, because there's so many, and I know that there's so much information out there, on that. But essentially, with the homochords, your body's able to pick which potency it likes best and roll with that one.
Okay. I can see how there is a lot of depth and nuance here and why this would be intimidating for someone who is new and just wanting to explore it. But I feel the way you just explained it is probably the best I've ever heard it. Like I feel like I just learned more than I have in the last like 15 years.
Oh, good.
So,
Yay. Because usually I talk too much. No, so that's what I've learned with the homochords. And that's what with treating chronically, I feel like it definitely helps because say I say chronically because somebody comes and they're wanting to heal. They have a chronic pain, and pain is the worst, or anxiety. I don't know which one is worse, whether pain or anxiety is worse. But say you're in chronic pain and you want to feel better. What if I got the right remedy and I chose the wrong potency? Then I'm not sure what I got wrong. I don't know if I got the remedy wrong or the potency wrong. So where do I start? Do I change my remedy because I feel like I got it right, or do I change my potency? So that's why I feel like the homochords are awesome, because they take out that question of did I get the right potency? I know without a shadow of a doubt after all my work and research that I got the remedy right. So if we start with a homochord, and we can start with a Fibonacci that's not got as many in it, and then the Kintian homochords are going to have the Kintian homochords, have 30, 200C, And then they have 1M, 10M, and 50M in them. So they have some of the higher potencies. And then a super is those two mixed together. And then there's even more that you can go on from there. But that's all I currently have. But I've just seen so many good things happen with those. And then I feel like after working with myself with a homeopath and taking just a 200C opposed to taking what I knew I needed that she prescribed, instead of taking a 200C, I took a Fibonacci home accord. It was like I saw overnight difference, and moved through what I needed to work through so much faster. Not that she didn't do her job well, because she did. It was just using a different potency made it work faster.
Interesting. Have you ever met a practitioner that does homeopathy with muscle testing to maybe like ask the body what potency or remedy to use?
I
Like, do those
haven't,
two
but I
things go together?
They do for sure. And they're like the bioresonance and everything. I know there's
Uh-huh.
a couple of homeopaths or practitioners that are in our course that do both. Is it something that I want to add on? Maybe. I feel like locally, I probably wouldn't use it as much just because Bartlesville is a little smaller. But if I could ever work my way into Tulsa, I feel like it probably would be on my horizon because I feel like it definitely would come in handy. I think there's going to be that base of people that would use it or utilize it more. But yeah, there's definitely practitioners that utilize muscle testing, the bioresonance scans, and things like that. But yeah, I always want to be learning something. Like I'd love to take, I don't know what I want to do next. I'm gonna finish 2026 and take a couple months off, but I'd like to like learn some of the cranial sacral work and the muscle testing. And there's so many like things I'd like to use just to know for my own. I don't necessarily want to offer any cranial sacral work, but it's interesting to me because we've used it a lot in my family,
Yeah.
just to know more. And I know that I've taken a lecture on it where it works hand in hand with homeopathy, just like all modalities, I feel like do. Um, and I know people don't like to hear that because you're like, oh, I just want to find one thing that works because that's what we've
It's
been
never just one
programmed.
thing.
No, it's never just one thing, but that's how we were programmed. I feel like, you go to the
Right.
doctor says, here you go. And it sometimes you think you get overwhelmed, but I love all the practitioners in our life. Like, they're great. And I don't go to all of them all the time, but I know that I can reach out to them or whatever whenever I need to, and they're there. So I feel like everybody's there for a reason. And
Yeah,
yeah,
and honestly, it's like it's so nice to be able to have the choices at your fingertips because what worked one time for you might not work another time either. And it's like being able to just kind of meet your body where it is and in different seasons. And it's like we're always changing and everything, it's always different.
yeah,
And it's like once you start going down this rabbit hole and learning these things, it's like you never want to stop learning because they do all go together. And whether or not it becomes part of your practice or what you do, it doesn't matter
right.
because it all will complement each other and it will all just enhance your learning and the service you're able to provide your clients just based on how you understand the interconnectedness of all of it.
Yeah, 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 I agree totally. And it's wild. I feel like, everything I've learned on how one thing can affect so many other things down the way. Did you have a chronic sickness as a kid? Well, I know lots of people that had chronic ear infections or chronic strep. I never had any of those, but I think to those people, and I think about the things I know about those things, and I'm going, oh, okay, that makes sense. You had this, and that's why you have this now, or potentially why you have this now, not necessarily why you have it, but because they're linked to each other. um
Hmm.
it's like it makes everything make more sense and add up, and it's just cool. Our bodies are cool. That's what that sounds like. Really, that's really just plain and simple, but our bodies are cool.
Yeah. And once you understand it, they become so less mysterious. Like you can get past so much of the frustration of like, why am I like this? And I think a lot of like the programming you talked about, it's like we have this mentality in our culture that our body's broken and there's always something wrong and we have to fix, fix, fix. But it's like, no, it's like our body's always just communicating to
Yeah.
us. And like once we can understand that and start like seeing how our body's responding to the inputs that it's getting and like what's happening, it becomes so amazing. Like this is just an aside. So in September, I got a concussion, like a pretty bad concussion playing soccer. And I did the cranial sacral, I was doing hyperbaric. And then fast forward to when I just had like that major allergic reaction to my, like with my face. I didn't even put together the connection, the gut brain thing. And after a head trauma, how that messes with your gut. Because I've never had an allergic reaction before. And I,
Yeah.
I was spinning my wheels trying to figure out what am I reacting to? What's going on? And then I realized, oh my gosh, my gut is a wreck right now because of my head injury, like 3 months out. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Like that timeline made sense. And so that was now like mid-November when that happened. And now, like in the last week, I'm having this is just TMI for this episode, sorry, but now I'm having like all this crazy anxiety and like debilitating emotional stuff that I have never in my life experienced. But I'm like, oh my gosh, this is all like the only thing I could think is this is the all tying back to a head injury.
Yeah. And see,
But
that'll be one of the questions. So, say somebody comes in and they're like, okay, when I was 16, they came in with this. Let's see, say they came in with, I don't know, trying to think of something. When I have to think about something on the spot, I can't think about anything. Um, I've had IBS since I was 16. Okay, cool. What happened when that started? I don't know. Wait, let me think. Okay, so when I was 15 and a half, 6 months before I turned 16, when my IBS started, I was in a severe car wreck, or my dad died, or I was, as much as it sounds terrible, I was raped, or something
oh, my
catastrophic.
parents got divorced or
Yes, or my parents got divorced. It doesn't have to be catastrophic or traumatic for me. It
hmm
has to be traumatic for you. And so that's one of the questions when somebody comes in and says, oh, this is when this started. Okay, why did it start? What happened around that time? Whether you were 3 or you were 15 or you were 40, something has probably happened within that last 12 months that was the catalyst
Yep.
for that starting. And so that is where we like to go back to, and that's where we'll kind of, why did this happen? I have a client that came in with anxiety and was amazing. Was having basically anxiety with peers. Of course, wanted to function normal and be normal and not have that anxiety of not wanting to leave the home. And it started at a very, very young age. We started with one remedy. We saw a little bit of movement, but there was still that severe anxiety with peers. Of course, wanting, like I said, wanting to integrate and be, just act like a kid should act, you know? And I'm like, okay, so this started here. Let's go back to this time. What happened at this time? We went over it again, and I thought, this sounds really simple to me when I looked at it from a different lens. And I thought, okay, it started here. And there was a traumatic event that happened whenever this person was very young. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to treat for that traumatic event. Even though time has passed and it's been probably 12 years, we're still going to treat for that event. And within 2 weeks, I text, and this person was integrating with peers, like talking on the phone, doing things that were outside of the norm. And it was just wild that treating that experience that happened 10 years ago is what unlocked them, what was going on now. I set in on a lecture, and this one is wild. It was a lecture right after I first started school, and the lady came with just so many debilitating things. Anxiety, couldn't eat, like she had 4 foods she could eat. Chronic pain, everything. Like I just can't imagine living life how this lady was living life. And we treated, or the lecturers or the professors picked certain remedies. She saw maybe a little bit of improvement. Again, came back for a follow up, saw a little bit of improvement, but still was just having severe issues. And at the second or third follow up, she mentioned that her grandma had certain issues and when they started for her grandmother. And so the practitioners and professors were like, let's treat grandma's issues, even though grandma's long gone. This is where it started. And whenever we switched the remedies from what she currently was on to what was treating what started this whole myriad of things in her mom and her and her grandma, that's when she started seeing relief. So that's,
Oh,
I mean, it's just wild how we can inherit things that we don't know. So that's where I go back to. Like, I think some people get so frustrated. I'm sick. I don't know why. I'm eating healthy. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing this. I'm not losing weight. What the heck is going on? You know what? Might not even be your problem. It might have been Granny's problem. And we might not know what Granny's problem is. That's okay. But we just have to figure out when yours started, there's just, it's just so detailed. But then again, to me, I feel like it's so simple to help unpack it all too. It can be difficult. I try to let people know that we've been packing this in for years. You know, you're 40, you're 70, however old you are, we've been packing it in for a while. Don't expect to be better in 2 weeks. Some people might. You might be one of
yeah.
those people that's like, holy moly, I had this just wow event and in 2 weeks. But you should start seeing small things. That's why we like to do follow ups. At 6 to 8 weeks, I'd like a client to come back in. Let's talk. I'm going to go through all the notes we went through in the first. I mean, I had a lady that I don't remember why she came in, but I remember her coming in for a follow up and she's like, I kind of feel a little bit better, but I just don't feel like I've seen a whole lot. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going through notes and I was like, it said you only sleep like 2 hours a night. And she's like, oh, I'm sleeping all night now. And I was like, okay, cool, sleeping all night. It says that you vomit every morning when you get up. She's like, I haven't vomited in like 2 months. And I was like, all right,
Wow.
cool. So no vomiting in the morning. And then, and she's like, I guess I really am getting better. And I was like, we are. And that's why follow ups are so important. If I can't
Yeah.
say anything, I
And
feel
those
like as a
notes.
practitioner, the notes, the follows up, those are important, people, because that's where we really find out, like, is it working? You find out if it's working. We live with ourselves, just like you live with your kids, when you don't realize they're getting bigger or they're changing, but you don't realize when you're getting better because you are getting better. And life's just easier and we don't realize those things. Like I started, the reason I originally searched out a homeopath was for emotional things. I was very angry. I'm not an angry person. I didn't grow
That's
up as
because
an
you were
angry
in
person.
real estate. Just
I
kidding.
was. You're probably right. Yeah, I was an angry person and I was angry with my children. And I'm not an angry person. Like, I'm one that can fly by the seat of my pants. I don't care. It is what it is. Let's do it. Let's have a good time. But I was angry and it just didn't make sense. I was angry and then I felt bad because I was angry and I was in this vicious loop of angry, mad at myself, tearful, you know, all that. And so I feel like the first thing I really noticed is I could take a step back when I got angry once I started treatment and realize I was getting angry and be like, hold on, I need 30 seconds. Turn around, take a deep breath. I'm not going to be angry. Where before I was just like explosive. And that's where it started for me. I thought, okay, I'm getting better to where now I'm not, obviously I still have times when I'm angry, but that's where I really saw those shifts. I had somebody ask the other day, um, do you think that we have to be doing anything to notice when something, like she said, I was just sitting in a chair the other day and I just had this thought come into my mind. I feel lighter. And she's like, I thought about that thought and she goes, I do feel lighter. I don't feel like I have that burden anymore. She's like, and I don't necessarily know what changed. She's like, but something had shifted. And I think a lot of it's our mindset. We've got so much going on in our heads. We've got so much that, I mean, life is heavy these days. There's so much going on. We're expected to do so much. And if we can just have those small shifts day to day, those small shifts day to day add up over time. And that's where you really see change. And that's what I told her. I said, I do. I mean, I know people think I'm weird, but I do think that that we can have those shifts in our energy or in our minds or whatever, however you view that. I know some people don't like the word energy yet again, but we're all energetic. Everything resonates at a certain energy or frequency. I feel like that's becoming more prevalent. I mean, so I do. I think that it can change just in an instant like that. I do think that there can be that mind shift or that body shift, that energetic shift, and you don't have to be doing anything in your treatment. It just is, it just, that sounds so silly unless you've been there. And that's why I'm glad I started there because I can answer those questions for people. Like I had another lady message me and she's like, what did she say? She said, I'm able to take a step back when I'm with my kids and my husband, and realize that I'm overwhelmed. And I can say, can I please step away for 5 minutes? She's like, where before I just came unhinged and couldn't do the day to day things. Like she just sat in front of the TV because that's all she could do. I mean, we've all been in a sickness or a state where we could only do this, whether it is sit in front of the TV or lay in bed or work as many hours as we could work, however you handle things. And that's where those shifts happen. It's just wild.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes being in this work, like as a practitioner, having that lived experience and being able to walk from a place where you've been there and you know where your clients have been and you know what those shifts feel like, it makes you a better practitioner. It makes you more attuned to those things and it makes you be able to communicate better and just meet people where they are from a place of experience and not from, I read this in a book or I saw this in a lecture. And I also think that's why modalities like this and alternative health treatments like this are growing across the world and like we can just touch on it really quickly. It's just these things are becoming more popular because people are realizing that the standard operating procedure of you feel this way, here, take this drug or go to this surgery or XYZ, this is the protocol, is not working anymore. And it's because there's this energetic component. It is because we carry generational trauma, or we also, not just trauma, but we also carry the DNA and we carry other things like our grandmother, our great grandmother, like the, what is it? Like our great grandmother had us as an egg in her body or something.
Yeah.
Or it's like
Yeah.
those eggs literally are like passed on. So even if you don't want to think about it as like an energetic thing, it is
Yeah.
biology that
It
you
is for sure.
are moving through
Yes, that's so wild to think that,
physically.
but it's true. It's so
Um,
weird, but it's so
and
true.
so we do carry those things. And I think more people are just like learning about it, accepting it, and realizing that whatever model we've been following is not working because we are sicker and we need another way.
Yeah, I agree with you for sure. 100%.
There. That's my soapbox on that.
No, I agree with
Um,
you.
I'm loving this conversation, but I want to just real quick talk about because I've heard and people are asking about how homeopathy is kind of potentially, I don't even want to say in danger, or that's not even the right word, but threatened? What's happening?
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on. I feel like there always is. Um, because there's a lot more talk about it, so we're hearing more
Yeah.
about the latter side too. Um, I think that the FDA likes to have their finger in everything, which can be good and bad. I know that a lot of people like that, but I know a lot of people don't. Um, I think the big concern is that they want it to be regulated, where now it's categorized as something that um, doesn't work per se, or it's not regulated. It's just not got the regulations that pharmaceuticals do. And from the reading that I've done, I don't. I don't necessarily understand all of it or both sides because I try to read as much as I can and understand what the bills they're introducing say and what the homeopathic side saying and the other side. And I think um, there's some more regulation wanted so that it's recognized, but then there's some that's not. I think more than anything, we just kind of keep our eye on it to make sure that we're all moving forward for the right reason and for the same best things. I know I saw one of, I probably won't say her name right. Is it Paola? Do you follow her on Instagram? Paola
I don't think so.
Homeopathy. Let me see. Make sure I
Maybe.
say
I don't know. I feel like I follow so many people.
Let's look. I know that she was just going to Washington yesterday. It popped up on my, I think it's Paola Brown. Yeah, Paola Brown. She had mentioned that she's on the team of one of the homeopathic I don't know what they're called whenever you're um but she was going to Washington yesterday and
Like an
they're going.
advocacy group.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
She's on that group and she was going and she's going to be there for like a week and they're going to be discussing things. So I think basically, we, I would say the FDA isn't wanted to be in on it. I don't really know. I know personally I have my own views, but I'm not going to mention those because they're my personal opinion. But I do just think we just keep an eye on it more than anything. I don't think there's anything to get upset about. I think that homeopathy's been around for 200 years and it'll be around for 200 more years. I think everybody can go into it with an open mindset and know that it's going to be safe. Over the 200 years, I would say that from everything I know and read, homeopathic remedies are not known to be interactive with any type of medication. Again, run that by your doctor if you're on any medications, but homeopathy is not known to be reactive with any type of medication or medicine. So taking it is safe. Um, Basically, if your body needs it, it's going to use it. If it doesn't need it, it's okay. So if we get the remedy wrong, no big deal. Can you overdose? I'm going to say no. I've had a little boy take a whole bottle of a remedy before because they're little kids and they grab things. If it did anything like my liquids, they're made in half brandy, half water, or half distilled water, half brandy, and then the remedy. So all it could do is maybe make their tummy sick because it's got the little bit of the alcohol in it. Um, so I would say homeopathy would be where I would start as a mom, just because I know it's safe. Chamomilla, arnica, aconite, those are three I would have on hand. Chamomilla is good for any of the calming, teething. Arnica is for any type of pain, basically, that isn't a nerve pain. Nerve pain, you would think hypericum. Aconites for any fear or shock or sudden anything, sudden sickness of any kind, sudden fear. So I have two little boys. I feel like we go through a ton of aconite and arnica because Lord knows we hit our head at least 5 times a day. So they come to me with their little bird mouths open and they're like, Mom, I need something. And I'm like, okay, cool. Why don't we just need like that on an IV, I feel like, because we bump our heads or do something silly every day. But yeah, I think that we just all keep our eye on the news. If you're worried about homeopathy, reach out to someone that maybe knows a little more or look up. I know that, like I said, Paola shares quite a bit. Um, and I'm on a couple of homeopathic forums where they talk about it, but I just feel like it's very up in the air right now. Like I really don't have anything negative or positive to say about it. It just is one of those things where I feel like every 3 to 5 years there's some digging around that happens. Um, I don't know if they're wanting to regulate it more. It just doesn't make sense to me. I've read and read and it really like it's just jumbled to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. The
but
same.
I don't
It just feels like a gray area right now
It
with what's
it does.
happening.
It's like they want more. They want to say it doesn't work, and I think from my personal viewpoint, I'm thinking that the homeopathic side wants them to say that it works. I don't know. That's where I'm really struggling because I read and I really am struggling with it. So like I said, I would keep an eye on it if you're worried about it, that would be something, just keep an eye on it. But homeopathy's been around for years. I wouldn't be afraid of it in any form, no matter what's said on that side. Um, because I've seen it work and know that it works. And again, seen my little child drink a whole bottle and be fine. I'm not saying do that by any means. That just wastes your remedies.
Yeah. I would say it works because if the FDA wants to get involved, it has to. As interest is growing, they want to
Yes, I would say
assert
that
authority.
that would be my viewpoint as well, is that whenever there's a lot of talk on things, I mean, like you said earlier, I feel like every modality is getting more interest daily. I have people ask me about other modalities all the time that I thought never would question anything. And
Yeah,
so I think that people are starting to wonder, could this help? Would this help? What will work? Because people have been on medications for 15 years and they're finally going, why am I taking this for 15 years? I'm not any better than I was 15 years ago. And, it doesn't make sense.
right. Yeah. 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 And that growth, that interest, it kind of forces the regulation there. So you mentioned a couple remedies for getting started, and you mentioned kits that you make. Why don't you share like the best place for people to find you, learn more? How can they get these kits from you? The best place to get started if they want to work with you, all that good stuff.
I do have a website, and that's where I feel like I have the most collective presence because I'm not good on social media. I do try. My website is theoklahomeopath.com. And that will tell you a little bit about me more than what you've maybe learned here. I'm working on a What is Homeopathy video to have there, because I think it's good to see my face and me talking opposed to just a general statement. You'll
Yeah.
find my schedule and everything. I don't have remedies on there for sale, but it is on there how to get a hold of me, either by email or phone. I don't have a problem shipping. I ship all over the United States. There's other practitioners that I ship to, and then I have other clients in different states too. So I do see people locally. I'm happy to come wherever you are. I've had clients in the Tulsa area where I've gone down there. I do have a private office in Bartlesville. So you're always welcome to come to my private office, or I do Zoom consultations as well. I have a few clients that I see via Zoom. So you can be in any part of the world, no matter what. And again, I do ship remedies, but that would just be reaching out to me personally. I need to really figure out what the regulations are on selling online before I put them online, because I know that it is slightly regulated, and there are certain things you have to stick to. And I just want to be safe on that.
Yeah.
My 30 remedy kits at home, that's what I started with years ago. They have 24 of the top remedies and then six remedy blends. So and then they come in a hard carrying case that you can travel with. And then they also have a 38-page booklet that would go over certain ailments. Hay fever, eye issues, postpartum, mental issues, stomach, flu, any cough, all those things. It has those in there. The blends that come in it are going to be a head cold blend, a um, a flu blend, headache blend, anxiety blend. And that would be anxiety that's not chronic. It's not something that you've had for a long time. It'd be like, so like myself, I don't like heights, and then I struggle with lights. So we went to a really big aquarium that had lots of different levels and different blue lights. And that's anxiety for me. I took that and drank it throughout the entire thing in my water bottle, and I was fine. So that's the type of anxiety that would be for, not a chronic anxiety. And then it has a parasite blend in it. I know that parasite cleanses are the rage. I'm not a big parasite cleanser because there's so much more to it than just that. Ooh, that's a
I
whole nother podcast in itself. So we won't go
yeah.
there. This parasite cleanse is one that you could use on your animals, your babies, things like that. It basically is something you're going to do for weeks. It's not just going to be a month thing. It's going to move out things that need to be out, but leave the ones that need to be there because there's some that need to stay. So it's very
Mhm.
gentle. And then what other? There's one more blend in there. I don't remember. A cough blend. But yeah, So there's 30 remedies there. For the most part, that's going to serve a family well. Those remedy kits are going to be 375, and that I have two of them. One I've had for like 6 or 7 years, and my mom still has it. I gifted it to her. My sister has another one that I've had for like 4 years, and they just last. So if you've got a big family, um, it's something that's an investment, but it pays for itself for as often because again, like I said, they're liquids, 2 to 3 drops, the whole bottle of water. So it just really goes a long ways. Whereas I know you can run through pilules fast. That's why I really like the liquids for certain situations.
Yeah. And I will just say, like, just thinking back to that time when I was a mom, just having that kit, mine was a lot smaller. This one sounds amazing. And knowing how to use it and to just be like, well, bam, and I got it and I was on it is you feel like superhero. It's
You do
amazing.
sometimes, it does. And then and then I always tell people whenever you buy a kit, you do get a 30 to 45-minute consultation on how to use it. Because I don't ever want somebody to acquire something and not know how to use it or feel empowered enough to use it and it just sit there. So I'd go over kind of like what we've done here and we just kind of talk about if you have an issue with something or whatever. I had one lady that was like, well, I've got, I can only spend this amount of money, but I need a couple of certain things. We can switch a few things up too, and if we have to. I stock roughly 250 different remedies and different potencies. So there's plenty to
Okay.
switch out on and stuff.
All right. I love it. Well, I will definitely make sure I link up your website in the show notes. Is there anything else you want to share?
I don't think so. It's been fun. I do have social media. I do have Instagram and Facebook, but my personal Facebook's usually what I post on. I'd prefer just to use it. And then that's my goal, like we've chatted, is to do better on social media this next year because I think people do want to learn and picking up a book is too much for a lot of people. So my goal is to share 30-second to a minute videos once a week and then maybe a couple snippets each week on certain remedies or about certain situations because that is where I feel like a lot of people learn. I think about moms, they sit down at night. And if you're sitting down at night on your phone, put on your red light glasses because that's not good for your
Yes.
hormones.
Oh my gosh, I know you're sitting here with yours on, and mine are like right here staring at me.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So put those red light glasses on, ladies. Don't sit on your phone in front of the TV at night and watch my videos. Okay, that's a no-no.
that's right. If the
But
sun
yeah,
is down, your glasses should be on.
that's right. That's why I have mine on now because my office doesn't have any windows. So it just is overwhelming. I feel like I come out of a cave whenever I'm done. So I usually wear my glasses in here. Anyway, yeah, that's my plan because I feel like that's where a lot of moms they get that 15 minutes, an hour downtime after they put the kids to bed. And we just kind of want to veg out, whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent. You get on your phone and you look through, and if that's where you're learning just the little tidbit of information, I hope that I'm helping you learn that. So that's my goal for this next year.
Okay. I love it. That's a good goal. Well, thank you. I feel like this was a really good grounding conversation that like invites curiosity, but also just reminds us that it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to learn, and that our body is intelligent and there's more than one way to support it. And there's more than one way to support it through different seasons. So I thank you for being here with me, and I appreciate how you approach this work and how you share it, your perspective and your experience. So thank you. For anyone listening, just take what resonates, leave the rest, move at your own pace. And again, I'll just make sure I link up all of Sydney's stuff so you can make sure you um, can find that easily. And that is it for today's episode. So thank you for listening to the Health Starts at Home podcast. And the caveat, this episode's for educational and informational purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, or replace medical care, and always use your own discernment and consult a qualified healthcare professional when making decisions for your own health and your family. All right, thanks.